Now it's time for our weekly energy update with Dan McTeague, president of Canadians for Affordable Energy. All yours, Dan.
Hello again, Teresa. And yeah, another week. We're getting a lot closer to that warm weather, and summer driving seems to be in high gear, not just in Canada, but the United States. Of course, more Canadians spending a lot more time on each side of the border. Actually, Americans staying their side, Canadians staying on their side. Looks like we're going to see a lot more activity on the roads with Canadians probably doing a little bit more of their travel and spending within Canada, perhaps to a lesser extent the Americans. But what this really means is that the pricing that we're seeing across the country, things seem to be normal, notwithstanding the tariffs and the threats, which seem to be ongoing with the Trump administration and Trump himself. It's not having much of an impact on energy prices. If anything, we could start to see energy prices move down a slight bit, as we've seen in the past week. We've seen, a big collapse in gas prices in Vancouver, for instance, down 15 cents a liter week over week, and that's because there was a couple of refinery issues in the U.S. West Coast. We also saw two terminals, New Star and, of course, Kinder Morgan, which operate terminals, and along with the Cherry Point pipeline, which is BP. And all three of them really have their own pricing reference. And there was a period of time there was concern about supplies being constrained. That seems to be off the table now, and prices have now moderated back to about $1.62, about $1.61 in Vancouver. We're still seeing a high price in Victoria. I'm very surprised that Victoria gas stations continue to, as it were, not, get the proper signals. They should be about 4 or 5 cents a liter less expensive than Vancouver. So I would say $1.58, $1.59, not $1.69. So, hey, gas stations in, Vancouver Island, Victoria, wake up, smell the coffee, stop the fleecing. And I really mean that, because it's not very fair. The rest of British Columbia, central BC, has seen prices drop 4 or 5 cents a liter. Prince George, Kamloops, Kelowna, with Kamloops being a lot cheaper than Kelowna. That's a little bit of a surprise. But gas stations there, the big difference is not the wholesale price. It's not the taxation. It's actually gas stations giving away, shedding their retail margins of 10 cents a liter. So I guess they must have rich uncles, or perhaps selling a lot of beef jerky in their stores to make up the difference. But the reality is that that can't go on forever. So if you're in Kamloops and you're seeing $1.30, $1.40, $1.38, that may not last. It may actually go up. It has nothing to do with the markets, everything to do with gas stations giving away their operating costs. Now, if we go over to Alberta, we haven't seen a lot of change there. Some people were upset a couple of weeks ago because it popped from $1.32 all the way to $1.38, 39, and $1.40 in some instances. But there too, it costs most gas stations about $1.27, $1.28 to buy their fuel. That's with GST. And so you have to have an operating margin. Let me explain this. If you don't have an operating margin on top of the wholesale price and taxes, how do you run your gas station? It costs money to pay for the electricity to turn on the pumps. It costs money to hire your staff. It costs money to pay the taxes, operating overhead. It also costs a lot of money every time I go to a gas station. My wife will tell me, hey, go and make sure you use the points card. Get a few points on every liter of gasoline. That's sometimes 4, 5, 6 cents a liter. That comes out of the bottom line of every gas station retailer. It doesn't come out of the generosity of the credit card issuer, or the rewards loyalty program. So gas stations have to have that 7 to 10 cent retail margin, or they have a rich uncle or a very generous bank. And I think all of those factors may very well disappear if they continue to charge zero or sometimes below cost. And no, going after Costco and saying, well, we can compete with them. Well, you can't. Costco moves a lot more volume than most anyone else. The other thing too, you pay $120 a year with some of these, big, what they call the big box retailers. Nothing's for free. So you think you're getting a deal. Think about the 80, 90, 100, $150 you pay every year in annual fees. So there's no free lunch, folks. You have to really look at these a little closer. Saskatchewan, we never see any price change here. It's always in the 132, 133 range. Same for diesel. And Winnipeg, Manitoba, in the $1.30 range, not moving a whole hell of a lot, because we haven't seen much of a change on the Chicago spot market. That's where prices for all of Western Canada, including British Columbia Interior Central, takes place. So Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, and BC's Interior all follow the Chicago spot market, and there it's been remaining pretty much consistent at about $2.25 a gallon, which at the end of the day works out to about 82 cents a liter. We also see about a 7 or 8 cent added onto that. That's the cost of refining in Canada, as well as the clean fuel standard. Yeah, the second carbon tax. We don't talk about it. Oh, because we got rid of the carbon tax. No, you didn't. You still have what's called a clean fuel regulation. And that's going to cost you right now about 4 cents a liter, which explains why there's a bit of a difference on the wholesale side between Canada and the United States. But I digress. People don't seem to see it. Therefore, they don't mind it. That's where the federal liberals are going to go. If they're going to restore that consumer carbon tax, a lot of it's going to be coming from, an industrial carbon tax or a very similar carbon tax, which you won't see. I'll see it and I'll be able to report on it, but it's coming back with a vengeance. In Ontario, we've seen gas prices moderate 3 or 4 cents a liter. We're back down to the 133 range. We were 136 last week. So that's pretty much where we're going to be range bound for the week coming. Same for Quebec. Although they have a carbon tax, it costs them an extra 18 cents a liter, 17 cents a liter when it's all said and done. They're still at $1.59, $1.60. Last week they were at $1.65, $1.64. Same for Quebec City. Now, Atlantic Canada saw a pretty big decrease this week, 4 cents a liter, and a little bit more for diesel. And that's really the reflection of what's happened in the rest of the world. Unfortunately for Atlantic Canada, well, they believe in fairy tales and government intervention in trying to create a synthetic price for gasoline. I'm not going to guess what's in the mind of bureaucrats and their silly little methodologies to come up with whatever the price will be. I will tell you what the market says, and if that doesn't happen to the pumps, don't blame me. I'm right. They're wrong, because what they're doing is basically saying, "Oh, you need us as a sort of security blanket." You don't. And frankly, you should have the advantage that's been given to every other community in this country. That's know a day or two in advance what the price of gas will be. This time next week, Teresa, look for prices to moderate, maybe go up about 2 cents a liter on average. Diesel will continue to fall by 3 or 4 cents a liter. For now, it's going to be quiet right until pretty much the end of June.